Count America's aircraft carriers. Most people get to 11. They're wrong. The real number is bigger. The Navy has 9 more ships that look like carriers, work like carriers, launch fighters like carriers, but the Pentagon files them under a different name. They're called amphibious assault ships. On paper, they exist to put Marines on a beach. In practice, at least 2 of them were built to do something else entirely. USS America, USS Tripoli. 2 ships built without a well deck. That's the part of an amphib where the landing craft launch from. Take it out and you've removed the thing that makes them amphibs in the first place. What replaced the well deck? Fuel tanks, maintenance bays, bigger hangars. The Pentagon basically built a small aircraft carrier and called it something else. Here's what the Navy officially has on paper today. 11 nuclear-powered supercarriers. Each one weighs about 100,000 tons, costs around $13 billion, and carries roughly 75 aircraft. That's the visible fleet, the famous ships. USS Gerald R. Ford, USS Nimitz, USS Theodore Roosevelt. If you ask anyone in the world how many aircraft carriers America has, they say 11, and they're right by that definition. But there's a second fleet, 9 ships. 7 of them belong to the Wasp class. 2 of them are the newer America class. The oldest, USS Wasp, has been in service since 1989. Every one of these ships has a flight deck. Every one launches aircraft. Every one operates a Marine air group. And 6 of them, as of February 2026, can land an F-35B Lightning II on their deck and turn around to launch it again. USS Wasp was the first. March 2018, East China Sea. A detachment of F-35Bs from VMFA 121 landed on her deck. It was the first time the aircraft had ever deployed on a US Navy ship. The Pentagon called it routine. It wasn't routine. 8 years later, 6 of the 9 amphibs operate F-35Bs as part of their normal loadout. USS America, USS Tripoli, USS Wasp, USS Essex, USS Mackinac Island, and, as of February 10th, 2026, USS Kearsarge. And here's where the numbers get interesting. 11 supercarriers plus 9 amphibs equals 20 ships in the US Navy that can launch fighters from a deck at sea. 20, not 11. China has 3, India has 2, the UK has 2, France has 1. The next biggest navy in the world that can land a fighter at sea is the Royal Navy with 2 ships. The US has 20. Now, the obvious question, if these ships are basically small carriers, why doesn't the Navy just call them carriers? The answer is honest and worth understanding. An amphibious assault ship is built to a different standard than a fleet carrier. Less armor, smaller crew, less ordnance storage. USS America carries an air group of 20 to 25 aircraft maximum. USS Gerald R. Ford carries 75. USNI Proceedings published an honest piece on this in 2023. The author was a retired Navy captain. He pointed out something the Lightning carrier crowd doesn't like to hear. The ordnance magazines on USS America are 23 times smaller than the magazines on a Ford-class carrier. 20 F-35Bs on USS? America will burn through their bombs in days, not weeks. A Ford-class can keep its air wing fighting for 2 solid weeks before rearming. That's the difference between a carrier and a carrier-capable ship. The Pentagon knows this. It's not a secret. So if the amphibs can't replace supercarriers, why build them this way? Because they don't need to replace anything. They add something. They give the Navy options. Need to put a Marine expeditionary unit ashore? An amphib does that. Need to put 20 stealth fighters at sea, fast, in a place where you don't want to send a $13 billion supercarrier? The amphib does that too. That's flexibility you can't buy in any other Navy. China has 4 amphibs. None carry fighters. Russia has 0 modern amphibs. France has 1 carrier, no amphibs that carry fighters. The closest comparison anywhere in the world is the Royal Navy's 2 HMS Queen Elizabeth-class carriers, which actually borrow F-35B operations from US doctrine. Let's look at USS America specifically. Commissioned 2014. Built by Huntington Ingalls in Pascagoula, Mississippi, cost $3.4 billion in FY15 money. That's roughly a quarter of what a Ford class costs. 844 feet long, 45,700 tons, about the size of the French aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle, or the Indian carrier Vikramaditya, smaller than a Nimitz, but bigger than most of the world's full-service carriers. Here's where the design choice gets interesting. Both Flight Zero ships, America and Tripoli, were built without a well deck. That's the floodable portable compartment at the stern where landing craft launch from. Every other amphibious ship in the world has one. These two don't. What did they put there instead? Aviation fuel tanks, maintenance bays for F-35Bs, storage for spare parts, extra ammunition. The result is an amphibious ship that lost the ability to launch hovercraft, but gained the ability to sustain 20 stealth fighters at sea for weeks. That was a deliberate decision. The Marine Corps spent years arguing internally about it. Some officers said losing the well deck was a mistake. Some said it was the smartest move the program ever made. The Pentagon picked a side. 2 ships were built this way. They're not building more, at least not yet. But the result speaks for itself. 2 ships, 2 purpose-built aviation amphibs, 2 backup carriers, already operating around the world right now. None of this works without one specific aircraft. The F-35B Lightning II, the B variant, stealth fighter, vertical landing, short takeoff. 5 generations of capability packed into an airframe that can land on a deck the size of 2 football fields. The B variant is the one nobody else can build. Russia tried with the Yak-141 in the 1990s. The program died. China's been trying for a decade. No working prototype. The UK, Italy, Japan, and South Korea all bought F-35Bs from the US because they couldn't build their own. That gives America a corner on a market it didn't really plan to dominate. If your Navy wants a stealth fighter that launches from a small ship, you have exactly one option, and you have to buy it from Lockheed Martin in Fort Worth, Texas. 6 nations have, more are coming, and the F-35B isn't a downgrade. It's the same sensor suite as the F-35C the supercarriers use. Same radar, same data link, same software. The only thing it gives up is range and payload, and even those numbers beat anything else flying off any other Navy ship. In June 2025, 6 F-35Bs from VMF A242 flew formation over USS America in the Philippine Sea. Routine flight, photo opportunity, but every photo of that formation was also a message. To anyone watching from Beijing, Pyongyang, or Moscow, the message is simple. America's smaller carriers aren't smaller in the ways that matter. They're smaller in tonnage. They're not smaller in what they bring to a fight. From Beijing's perspective, this is a problem. China's been building its own amphibious assault ships, the Type 075. 4 of them in service, the newest commissioned in 2025. They're impressive ships, 35 to 40,000 tons. About the same size as USS Wasp, but here's what they can carry. The Type 075 Air Group is 28 helicopters, Z-20S, Z-18S, Z-8S, utility helicopters, heavy lift helicopters, specialized helicopters, no fighters. China hasn't fielded an operational STOVL fighter equivalent to the F-35B. They're working on it. They don't have one yet. China's solution is the Type 076, a much bigger amphib launched in December 2024, called Sichuan, hull number 51. 260 meters long, bigger than any American amphib, and it has an electromagnetic catapult, the same technology used on USS Gerald R. Ford. But here's the catch. The Type 076 was designed for unmanned aircraft, drones, not manned fighters. China still doesn't have a working naval stealth fighter that can launch from a small deck. The Type 076 is impressive engineering. It's also still searching for the airplane it was built to launch. USS. America has been deploying with 12 to 13 F-35Bs since 2019. 6 years of operational experience. Real pilots, real maintenance crews, real combat-ready aircraft. The Type 076 has been in the water for 14 months. The closest fielded comparison China has is helicopters. Let's do the math the Pentagon doesn't put in press releases. 11 supercarriers, each carrying about 75 aircraft. That's 825 aircraft on supercarriers alone. Add the 9 amphibs operating in Lightning carrier mode at full capacity, 20 F-35Bs each. That's another 180 aircraft. Total over 1,000 fighter and strike aircraft potentially deployable at sea on US Navy hulls today. China's entire naval aviation force, every aircraft on every ship, plus shore-based aviation, totals about 300 fighters. The US Navy fields more aircraft on its carrier decks alone than China has in its entire naval inventory. And the gap goes further. Every American F-35, A, B, or C variant talks to every other F-35. They share data, they share targeting, they share a sensor picture. One F-35 sees the threat. 20 other F-35s across multiple ships instantly know about it. That's a capability China can't replicate by buying it. They have to build it from scratch with their own software, their own protocols, their own training. America has been doing this since the F-22 entered service in 2005. China started seriously around 2015. The lead is 20 years and counting. 20 carrier-capable ships, 1,000 integrated aircraft, 2 decades of operational experience the next biggest navy is still trying to catch. That's the picture. The Pentagon doesn't make a big deal about it. They don't need to. This is the part most channels won't tell you. The amphibs aren't a replacement for supercarriers. The Lightning carrier concept has real limits, and the Navy itself has been honest about them. July 2023, Captain Talbot Manville, U.S. Navy retired, wrote in USNI Proceedings, title, "The Lightning carrier isn't either." His argument was straight. The America class wasn't built to take hits the way a Nimitz or Ford class is built. The armor is thinner, the damage control is smaller, the survivability standard is lower. He's right. The America class was designed to support a Marine expeditionary unit landing on a contested beach. It wasn't designed to slug it out with Chinese DF-26 anti-ship missiles in a Taiwan scenario. Sending it forward of the destroyer screen would be reckless, and the ordnance problem is real. 20 F-35Bs on USS America will run out of bombs faster than a Nimitz class will run out of socks. The magazines simply aren't there. If America wants to use the Lightning carrier concept in a real shooting war, the Navy needs to figure out resupply and underway replenishment for ordnance during flight ops is tricky and dangerous. So why include this in a story about American naval power? Because the Pentagon's been working the problem. The FY 2027 budget request includes funding for additional ordnance storage upgrades on America-class hulls. Future LHA-9 design is rumored to include larger magazines. They're solving the problem they admit exists. That's how serious militaries operate. Acknowledge what doesn't work, fix it, move on. Right now, this minute, where are these 9 ships? USS America, forward deployed in the Western Pacific, operating with the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. Sasebo, Japan is her home port. She's the tip of the spear in any Indo-Pacific contingency. USS Tripoli, Pacific-based. USS Wasp, recently extended in service to 2034 because the Navy needs the hulls. USS Boxer, USS Baton, finishing a modernization overhaul. USS Iwo Jima, USS Macon Island, USS Essex, USS Kearsarge. Each one is part of an amphibious ready group. Each one operates with a Marine Expeditionary Unit. Each one carries roughly 2,300 Marines, 300 Navy sailors, and depending on configuration, between 6 and 20 F-35Bs. That's the rotational schedule. 2 or 3 ARGs at sea at any given time, spread across the Mediterranean, the Indo-Pacific, the Arabian Gulf. Every one of those ARGs can switch from Marine operations to fighter operations within hours, given the right air wing aboard. That's the flexibility. That's the thing the supercarrier-only fleet doesn't give you. A supercarrier is a hammer. It's a magnificent hammer, but sometimes the job needs a scalpel. The Pentagon built 9 scalpels, and 7 of them are older than most of the people watching this video. They still work, and as of February 2026, all 6 F-35B capable ones are flying stealth fighters off their decks. Here's where this gets strategic. The Pentagon's been thinking hard about a single problem. What happens if a Chinese hypersonic anti-ship missile hits a US supercarrier? It's a real risk. China's DF-21D and DF-26 missiles were designed specifically to threaten US carriers. The Navy has spent 20 years building defenses against them, Aegis, SM-6, SM-3, but no defense is perfect. 11 hulls means 11 targets. Lose 2 and you've lost a fifth of your fleet. The amphibs change that math. 20 hulls means an adversary has to track 20 hulls, plan strikes against 20 targets, coordinate intelligence on 20 different deployment cycles. That's a different equation. This is called distributed lethality. It's been a buzzword in Navy planning for years. The idea is simple. Don't put all your firepower in 11 big targets. Spread it across smaller ships. Make the adversary's targeting problem harder. The amphib fleet combined with the supercarrier fleet does exactly that today. And it's not just about defense, it's about presence. A supercarrier needs a 6,000 person crew and $1 billion of escort ships every time it deploys. An amphib needs about half of that. You can put more amphibs in more places more often for less money. The Royal Navy figured this out. The Marines figured it out. The US Navy has been quietly building toward it for a decade. The future of this fleet is already being built. USS Bougainville LHA-8 is under construction at Pascagoula. She'll be a Flight 1 ship, which means she gets back the well deck the Flight 0 ship skipped, but she also gets a larger aviation magazine. The Navy's solving the ordnance problem on the new ships, not retrofitting the old ones. LHA-9. Long lead time materials were ordered in 2020. Construction continues. The Navy keeps building these ships because the demand is there. Marine Corps planners have said publicly that they want at least 10 amphibious assault ships. Today there are 9. They're not slowing down. And there's another piece. The F-35B production line at Lockheed Martin Fort Worth keeps running. Marine Aviation is converting every F/A-18 squadron to F-35B over the next decade. By 2035, the Marines plan to operate 185 F-35Bs. That's enough, even with maintenance rotations, to put 20 on every amphib that can take them. And the F-35 itself isn't standing still. Block 4 software upgrades start fleet-wide in 2026. Better sensors, better weapons integration, new munitions including the stand-in attack weapon, and a longer-range AIM-260. Every F-35B that operates from an amphib gets these upgrades. The capability ceiling keeps moving up, and critically, the Navy keeps building destroyers around these ships. Every amphibious ready group sails with at least 2 Arleigh Burke destroyers. The newest, Flight 3, carries the AN/SPY-6 radar. It can track a Chinese hypersonic missile from over the horizon. The amphib's defenders are getting smarter at the same time the amphib is getting more capable. That's how American military power actually scales. Not one ship, not one aircraft, not one weapon. A whole system that keeps getting better one piece at a time. The supercarrier gets better, the destroyer gets better, the amphib gets better, the fighter gets better, and every adversary has to keep up with all of them at once. So next time someone tells you America has 11 aircraft carriers, you can correct them. The number is 11 supercarriers, plus 9 smaller carriers that the Pentagon doesn't call carriers but operates as carriers when the mission requires it. 20 hulls, 1,200 aircraft, 6 oceans, 1 alliance system. That's what American naval power looks like in 2026. Not just the ships in the photos, the ships behind them.